Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. In Monster Strike, let's talk about the upcoming Transcendent form, the Kai version, or the Retsu version, or the Super version, whatever you want to call it. I'm probably just going to go for Retsu, since it's the shortest. But on Tuesday, after the maintenance, it will become available for at least one character, probably just Strike here. And then we will be given the scrolls, which will give other transcendent forms kind of aspects of the Retsu form. But first, let's talk about God Strike. And then, I guess the three characteristics of the new Retsu form. One, you can raise their level to 120, and then they have an example of the character being raised to level 120. So here, we can kind of compare the two stats. If we look at the speed, attack, and HP, it's not a big difference, maybe like a 5% raise, but the bump combo, it's raised by at least 10%, looks like, maybe 15%. That's pretty good. That's like an additional Ableberry there, so that's something to consider. The second characteristic of the Retsu version is they get the new Super Bias. I talked about this in the general update video, but we can talk about that here. Balance types become Super Balance types. If they pick up a heart, that will be an additional 20%. It's not quite clear like where that 20% is coming from, but yeah, anything is nice there. And then additional 5% damage to both the direct attacks and then the bump combo against the opposite element. So if you're using a blue character, you get extra 5% damage on red enemies, so yeah. Next up is the super power. If you pick up a sword, you will get an additional 20%. Right now, if you pick up the sword, it's a 1.5 times multiplier. So I don't know how that 20% is going to work with that 1.5, but yeah, it'll be better in any case. And then the first hit that you do on any enemy at any time will be an additional 20% there, so that's very nice. Super speed types, when they pick up boots, they will go even faster than normal. And then the first time that they hit a wall, it'll be like they get the speed up from like picking up a boot or whatever. It's a very nice ability. And last is the Super Blast type. If they pick up the Sand Clock, they will get 4 turns off of their strike shot count instead of the usual 3. And then if their bump combo is set off by an explosion, it'll come out at 100% rather than the 50% that it usually comes out. And this will apply to any kind of blast effect, the blast bump combo like what we're all familiar with, but also from the bomb throw and then the expanding bomb from like the new Nostradamus. So yeah, interesting abilities there. And then the last new characteristic of the Retsu type is the Connect skill. And then here on Strike, the Connect skill is Super Minesweeper. And this is activated if you use at least 2 units that are of the same class as Strike. So he's probably going to be a deity type. So if you put one more deity type on your team, he will get that Super Minesweeper. So it's kind of a demerit. You have to think about your team composition as you're using this Retsu version, which is probably a way to sort of kind of tamp down the strength of this character. If this character had no limitations, it would be very, very powerful. But yeah, needing to build a team around him a little bit kind of, tamps down his overpoweredness. The easy way to get around this kind of thing is to use multiples of this character on the same team. So you could use 2 of Strike together. I guess a person that I could think of at the moment now would be Zeus. He's another deity that has the damage wall and the flight, so you can certainly use them together in the same quest. Maybe the biggest question mark on in people's minds right now about these Retsu versions are how often they're going to come out, and then who's going to get it. It's probably going to be slow, or at least I'm hoping that it's going to be slow. And then maybe at first it will be just limited characters. So if you look at the old Transcendent forms, maybe Agnemute X will get that soon. Maybe like Hunter King will come later, if at all. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what kind of pace these characters will come out as. And then here are the materials that you need to awaken that. And then to get it to level 120, you might need a lot of like turtles. You might have to like play quests specifically for those EXP turtles to raise their levels. So that might be something to keep an eye out. So that is a quick rundown of the Retsu version. Maybe more interesting to me are these scrolls. You can give these to existing Transcendent characters to give them aspects of the Retsu form. The one on the left is the level up, so you can give that to a Transcendent monster, and then you can raise their level to 120, just like we see with Gabriel here that we looked at before. And then the one on the right is you give them the Super Bias. So you can give additional skills to speed types or power types or balance types or whatever. And then the second part of this video, I thought I would think about like who would maybe be good candidates for these two scrolls. So first let's talk about the level. And then these are all the Transcendent forms that are in the game right now. And any of them would benefit from higher levels, of course. The stats will get a little bit of an upgrade. Maybe more importantly though, their bump combos will get upgrades of that 15% more damage. So you might want to look at characters with better bump combos. Personally, I am thinking of maybe Nonno Alpha. I already have the Sidekick S++, but to get a little bit more damage out of her would make her good for high-level quests, like 16 of the Kinky, stuff like that, or just for like metal farming so that you can take down the little guys more quickly. I am also considering the max lux of these Golzetsu characters. I'm working on getting the Sidekick Ableberry for Adabuda here, and then also a Kin Strength. And then to get an additional 15% in the bump combo, and then maybe 5% in the attack value would be nice. And a little bit of speed as well. I think we saw that Gabriel got maybe like 20 extra speed. That would be a big help for Adabuda here. I'm also considering Shooting Gada, bringing her up to level 120 since I do use her a lot. But yeah, the level 120, you could really give that to anybody. Put it on a character that you use a lot, or that you have special feelings for, or is useful for you in a high-level quest. So not too limiting, I would say, for the level 120. The bias scroll, however, I think you have to think more carefully about this one. And then it's also based on like what bias they are. So yeah, balance, power, speed, or blast type. And then I thought we could go through one by one and then think about maybe who would be good candidates for the super bias scroll based on their bias. So these are all the balance types. The thing about the balance type, the super balance type, they get the upgrade to grabbing the heart. I think in most cases this is not going to be any reason for you to want to put that scroll on them. It's really going to be about the 5% damage. But thinking about that damage is only going to go into the opposite element, you have to think about really putting this on a character that you only use in those opposite elements. So somebody like Watson, for example, you're going to want to use her in a variety of quests. So if you use her outside of dark quests, she's not going to get that 5% extra damage, so that might not be a good choice. At first glance, I think the characters that will benefit the most from the balance type extra damage will be people with element slayers, like who's a good one? Like Satan Alpha. He has the Water Slayer, so you're going to want to use him in water quests, and then he'll get that additional super balance aspect. You could also put it on Aegis. He's got the Light Slayer, people like that. I think those would be the people that would benefit the most from the super balance bias scroll. Next up is the power types. And yeah, not a lot of power types that are transcendent forms, so you don't need to worry about who to give this to too much. I think most people are going to put it on deck. He'll get that extra 20% on that first hit when he hits an enemy. And then if you combine that with his strike shot, that's going to be super crazy damage. I'd be really interested to see how this works in level 20 of the Kinky, and if he can one-punch the boss, even if he doesn't have a sword, just like if the boss has the defense down. That would make that stage even faster and easier. We'll have to wait for a few days to see how that works. Other good candidates, I think, for the super power bias scroll would be Takemi Kazuchi for his strike shot. I really like this guy. This guy's going to get the most benefit when you use a strike shot and you hit that weak point. So it's a little bit luck-based. You do want to hit that weak point, and if it's in the wrong position, you're not going to get the as much of a benefit, but still, I'm very tempted to use it on this guy. And then Ancelium, for just the same reason as Takemi Kazuchi. I'm really considering putting it on these two guys. They're a lot of fun. Another good candidate might be the Harleys. They also get super damage and weak points, or that kind of stuff. Yeah, maybe that's all for the power types. Next, let's look at the speed types. They will get the speed up once they hit the wall. That's pretty amazing. It's kind of like a super null gravity barrier, which is one of the better skills in the game. First person that came in mind was Himiko. More hits, means more damage. That could be really good for her direct attacks. And then her strike shot, she goes through walls. She'll still get the benefit from that, so she'll get more speed, more hits, and then more damage from all of the chain meteor. Who else would be good? Oh, Gabrielle, she would be pretty crazy. She already has high speed, she already has dash, and so to throw the speed up on top of that would just mean more hits, more damage. She'd be pretty crazy. Also, Corsair might be interesting. She is good for Raudra, and speed is really useful in there. So to be able to give her even more speed on top of her 470, and on top of her super null gravity barrier would be lots and lots of movement from her. Let's see, I think Takasugi and friends getting more speed around in level 24 of the Kinky would be really useful, so they could be a good candidate. Complex would be interesting because, yeah, she could get the speed up once she hits the wall. It remains to be seen how good she will be for high-level quests, but I think she could be a good candidate. And then even if you use her just for easy quests for farming, getting more speed around will be useful. Set up more bump combos, hit more enemies. Let's see, Monster Rose, she already has the super null gravity barrier. To give her even more speed from hitting the wall would be good. Yeah, lots of good candidates, I think, for the super speed bias scroll. Oh, here's another one, Geraruhon, another good character for Raudra. Okay, and then finally, let's look at the blast types. This one's... It feels overpowered, but also kind of very situational. Basically, by turning their bump combos from 50% to 100% when set off by a blast pump combo, you're turning all of the blast pump combos into copy, which comes out at full power. So it sounds very powerful, but then you also have to think about which of these characters you are generally using with blast pump combos. So for me, we'll go to my box real quick. And then we will bring up my favorite characters, my metal farmers. But let's look at speed types. No, blast types. So these characters I will use with Bante a lot, who has a blast pump combo. So I think Lucifer, she would be a top priority for me. Give her the super blast type, and so her double energy circle will be full power even when sent off by Bante's bump combo. Same goes for Mozart, same goes for Undine. And then Takeda Shingen, he is not a metal farmer for me. He is a EXP farmer. But if you use other characters with blast pump combos, his homing will come out at full power if it's set off by another character. So that is something very attractive. And then also thinking about any of these characters that you use with Solomon, since she has the bomb throw, or Shuringada, who also has the bomb throw, or the new Nostradamus, who has that expanding bomb. If you use any of those characters with some of these, they might be another good candidate for that super bias scroll. So yeah, some things to think about. I think I've already let slip who I'm going to use these scrolls on first. Maybe the level 120s on my max luck Golzetsu characters, and then maybe the super bias scrolls on maybe like Takemi Kazuchi or somebody, I don't know, maybe Gabriel? I don't know. But it's really interesting to think about how you can kind of customize your characters. I'm almost more excited by the scrolls than I am by the Retsu version of Strike. One thing to consider is that say you give a level 120 scroll or a super bias scroll to one of these Transcendent monsters, and then they get the Retsu version later anyway. It'll be kind of like a wasted scroll, so that's something to keep in mind. So just to be on the safe side, you might want to give these scrolls to like newer characters, or like collaboration characters, or the drop characters, since they have maybe the lowest chances of getting the new Retsu version soon. So yeah, if you love Agnamut, maybe hold off on giving them any scrolls, because they might be very soon to get the Retsu version. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the new Retsu version and then those new scrolls. It's pretty exciting stuff, so looking forward to the next few days when we will get those. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.